We've reached the point where Wizards of the Coast is literally just throwing everything against the wall and seeing what sticks, because we have confirmation now that there are going to be both Eldrazi and Phyrexians in Strixhaven. What's going on? Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. My friends, we are here today to talk about absolute insanity. I guess after previous sets, Wizards of the Coast might have been worried that Strixhaven wasn't going to do that well. I mean, we all know that Strixhaven has that Harry Potter gangsta lean to it, right? Like, when you look at Strixhaven, you can tell that they were looking to do some kind of Harry Potter crossover at one point, and that fell apart. So that left Wizards with a big problem. If we're not going to use that to really get people hyped up about Strixhaven, where do we go with it? And they decided to just grab a couple of old favorites in the form of the Eldrazi and also Phyrexians. Now, we've had some seeds laid for this in the past, right? I mean, we just had the Kaldheim set where we had Vorinclex show up out of nowhere, and that was a pretty big hint that we were going to be seeing all 5 Praetors. And a lot of people were saying, you know what, I expect that we're probably going to see a Praetor on Strixhaven, and honestly, the blue Praetor Jin-Gitaxias makes the most sense, since Strixhaven is like a world of knowledge, right? You've got the situation where Kaldheim is a world of might, so send in Vorinclex, a giant mighty Praetor. You've got the world of knowledge, you send in the knowledge Praetor Jin-Gitaxias. So I mean, I imagine a bunch of you aren't terribly surprised as to what's going on here with the whole Jin-Gitaxias thing. But once everything gets broken down and you understand what's going on, it's going to blow your mind. You're literally not going to be prepared for this. Now, Kozilek is going to be on Strixhaven, but there's a big problem, obviously, with that. If you go, wait a minute, how can Kozilek show up on Strixhaven, right? Yeah, there are hints on some cards, but Kozilek was actually destroyed. No, that's not how it works, right? The Eldrazi are gigantic beings that exist outside the normal laws of the multiverse. The Eldrazi are the only beings that can actually traverse through the blind eternities without being a planeswalker, and in fact, they exist in the blind eternities and reality at the same time. There's a weird, crazy duality to their being. So, currently, up until now, the understanding that people have had is that Kozilek and Ulamog were destroyed. And we know Emrakul is still alive. Emrakul basically got shunted into the moon of Innistrad, right? Basically, what happened was Emrakul used Tamiyo as a pawn to shunt Emrakul into the moon, and everybody wondered what the reason for that was. Well, it turns out, in a crazy twist, and I don't know if this is what Wizards originally intended when they put Kozilek in the moon, I gotta be real. I feel like this is something they came up with after Kozilek was put in the moon. After Emrakul was put in the moon, I feel like this is something they just came up with to bring back the Eldrazi. Because remember, Eldrazi are one of there's a few different types of creatures that people absolutely love. Eldrazi, Slivers, Phyrexians. So after destroying 2 of the 3 big titans, they put Emrakul up in the moon, kind of a timeout zone, going, you know what, we can bring her back when we're ready to use her. The same way that they put Nicol Bolas off into the meditation realm. We will see a return of Nicol Bolas and Ugin. It's been outright stated by Mark Rosewater that if they didn't want to use them anymore, they wouldn't have put them over in that timeout zone. They would have just gotten rid of them, right? So, we've got a scenario where Emrakul is in the moon. Now, here's how it works. Emrakul actually births a brand new Kozilek using a combination of Navid and Starseed and some little fragments left over from Kozilek, because on Zendikar we saw that. You had the little fragments of different Eldrazi that were being used for weapons and armors. So combining Navid, Starseed, and these fragments of Kozilek, Emrakul was slowly able to gestate a brand new Kozilek that's literally going to be was already birthed from Innistrad's moon, because at this point, Kozilek's influence is already being seen on Strixhaven. You've seen some of the creatures in the artwork going on with that, right? Now, the craziest part is this is supposed to all culminate in the creation of essentially Phyrexian Eldrazi, because that is what the Phyrexians are after. If you wondered what they were doing on Kaldheim, if you wonder what they're doing on Strixhaven, literally Phyrexia's plan is to try and essentially capture the essence of the Eldrazi, right? Whatever it is that makes them into these beings that can transcend the normal existence and can exist in the blind eternities and elsewhere at the same time. And ultimately, what the Phyrexians intend to do with this knowledge is they intend to bring back the original father of machines, all the way back at the beginning of Magic, Yawgmoth. So if you're not familiar with him, he's the original villain of Magic the Gathering, and the storylines involving the Phyrexians and him have spanned for many, many years. So the Phyrexians tried in the past to harness Planeswalker sparks and somehow find a way to create Phyrexians with Planeswalker sparks. Now, they were never able to do so. They've been stuck to using planar portals to get to different locations. But at this point, their experiments involving the Eldrazi might be the key, where either through the usage of what is the essence of an Eldrazi or a combination of an Eldrazi and a Planeswalker, they intend to bring back Yawgmoth, but in a more powerful form than has ever been seen before, where essentially he is able to exist outside of the multiverse and inside of it at the same time, so that he can truly complete. If you're not familiar with it, Phyrexians have the concept of completion, right? Where essentially all living life needs to be turned into inorganic metal life, their version of perfection, right? So by bringing Yawgmoth back, this is their ultimate goal. Now, this is a storyline that's kind of had a long time to seed itself, right? Because Phyrexian oil has its own consciousness to a degree, but only the same way that basic life forms do, where it just knows that it needs to constantly replicate and reproduce itself. So the original Phyrexian oil that was transferred in Karn's Hearthstone, if you didn't know, I have a lore channel and I talk about like this old school stuff. Well, Karn has a Phyrexian Hearthstone as his effective matrix, right? And it was infused with Phyrexian oil, some of which escaped onto Mirrodin, right? And that's actually what corrupted Mirrodin from a world of pure metal into a pure nightmare. It is now New Phyrexia, and where the Phyrexians are foraying from. And it was long thought that we would never see Yawgmoth again, really. I mean, yeah, we saw a card from him in Modern Horizons, but I mean in the story, it was long thought that we would never see Yawgmoth again. But it turns out that the oil has been replicating itself and setting the path for the rebirth of Yawgmoth, the eventual evolution of the Praetors, and ultimately their goal is to spread out to different planes of existence, different parts of the multiverse, and find a way to bring back Yawgmoth, father of machines. So the current storyline is going to involve essentially Phyrexians under the helm of Jin-Gitaxias, attempting not to destroy Kozilek, but to capture Kozilek's essence, right? Because understand, Kozilek was just birthed by Emrakul, and as a result, Kozilek is now like a new Eldrazi Titan, right? Kozilek still has the aspect of the previous Kozilek, but is now no longer that same ageless being. It's like a new continuity. So at this point, the Phyrexians have a chance maybe to gain power over this new consciousness before it really ends up becoming too powerful and gets too far out of their reach. And honestly, we kind of saw hints of this kind of stuff coming when they did the mystery packs, where you could see that they crammed Sliver and Eldrazi together. I don't know what they're going to call the combination of like Phyrexians and Eldrazi, because it won't just be the rebirth of Yawgmoth. Obviously, the experiments to get there will involve fusing Eldrazi's and Phyrexians together. So what will you call those? Elrexians? Drazikins? I don't know. Whatever the terminology is, it's going to be really interesting to see the way that this plays out. I gotta say, the idea of Emrakul being able to birth a new Kozilek out of Starseed and Navid almost sounds made up, right? Like, it almost sounds like Starseed and Navid are actually the names of Our Lady Peace songs. And it's almost like today is April Fools. It's almost like it's April 1st, right? And it's almost like everything I've said in this video is totally totally made up nonsense that I've done for my own amusement. Now, is that the case? No, I assure you that everything I've said in this video is 100% real. There's zero chance that this is an April Fool's joke, because if this was an April Fool's joke, it would have to be April 1st. And we all know this video wasn't published on April 1st. So, my friends, get excited for your star-seeded, Navi-ed Kozilek coming back and leading to the ultimate creation of the Phyrexians. All right, so... God. Okay. I'm all done here, my friends. I hope you enjoyed this absolute nonsense that I just made up because it's April Fool's and it's way too funny to me. And if you're annoyed by that, you can blame Nathan, because I had forgot that April Fool's was going to be today until he reminded me last night. And I made a little note on my desk to make sure that I made this video. So I hope it's been fun. I hope I genuinely fooled some of you, because this is just, honestly, April Fool's is one of my favorite things. It's just a silly, goofy little thing. So, thanks for coming by. You can share your thoughts on my made-up nonsense if you like. It's not real, but it's fun. Anyways, Starseed, Navid, see ya, Our Lady, peace.